Welcome to the WRC Rally Magazine, the show that gets you up close and personal to the glitz, glamour and drama that is the World Rally Championship. Coming up in today's show, comeback king Mikko Hirvonen tells us about rejoining Works team Ford and his hopes for the year ahead. Seconds out, round one. Just how well do rally drivers really get on with the teammate who sits alongside them?
If you have a guy or a girl who just say yes, 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 it's not a good thing.
And with Sweden the next stop on the World Rally Carnival, we take a step back in time to replay one of the event's magic moments. And we preview this year's rally.
But as always, the season kicked off in the glamorous backdrop of Monte Carlo. Here it's all about casinos, flash cars and designer labels. And this year, the smart money was on Sebastian Loeb to win a fourth successive rally Monte Carlo. As if to prove the punters right, Loeb led from the start and built up his lead to more than a minute over the course of day one. But on the final stage of the day, a rare mistake from the Frenchman. He tumbled to 8th, thanks to the time penalties incurred for failing to complete stage 6.
It's difficult to accept in this position. I was first, I was leading with more than 1 minute, and to make a mistake in this condition, I don't like it, but this Monte Carlo this year is really tricky and it's really difficult to stay on the road. I think it's the same for everybody, and okay, it happens, so I hope can repair the car this evening and start again tomorrow.
One driver who wouldn't be seeing the start of day 2 was Petter Solberg. The Norwegian has always struggled on Monte Carlo, and this year was to be no different. An oil leak at the end of day 1 on the road section back to service irreparably damaged his Impreza's engine and ended his rally. Manfred Stoll impressed for OMV Peugeot, climbing as high as 2nd, but eventually finishing 4th. He lost out in a 2-day battle for supremacy with Tony Gardemeister. The former Ford man in a privately entered Peugeot showed his skill and ability on this challenging event. But he couldn't hold off the attack of the defending world champion Sebastian Loeb. After restarting the rally under Super Rally rules, the Frenchman charged through the field and on day 3 overhauled Stoll and Gardemeister to take 2nd place. A remarkable recovery from a superlative driver. He's the first driver to claim a podium place under the new restart rules introduced last year, allowing a car to rejoin the action after what could have been a terminal crash. But it was left to Marcus Grönholm to cash in his chips and take the inaugural win on his least favourite surface. The Finn drove flawlessly from start to finish and was never troubled after inheriting the lead from Loeb. A dream debut on his first rally for Ford and his first win on tarmac.
I was not pushing at all, but I had also vibration in the car and some smoke inside when we went up to the col, and we were really afraid with Timo, and we took the boost off a little bit, and it was not nice.
The final winning margin for Grönholm just over a minute from Sebastian Loeb, Gardemeister 3rd and Stoll 4th, with Sarazan and Atkinson 5th and 6th. Ford head the manufacturer's standings at this early stage thanks to good points finishes from both Works drivers, with Kronos Citroën in 2nd. So it's been a great start to 2006 for Ford boss Malcolm Wilson, who also saw his 18-year-old son Matthew tackle this rally for the first time. Despite breaking a steering arm on his car at the end of day 1, Wilson bounced back and completed the task set by his father to finish the rally.
The open hairpin left.
It was so important for him just to stay on the road, and in fairness, to do what he's done in the conditions that there's been, I think he's done a terrific job, and to finish 15th on your first Monte Carlo, 18-year-old, I think,
right 6.
Need I say more, I think there's a great future for him.
Slow right 6 minus 30, slow right 3 minus.
Matthew, you must be pretty pleased to finish this rally. It's always difficult here in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, for sure, and on Friday night I probably wasn't wasn't thinking about that I would get to the end, but no, it's been a good experience, one that, you know, I'll learn a lot from, that's for sure. And just looking forward to Sweden now, and getting started again.
Another young man making his Monty debut in the WRC was Spain's Dani Sordo. The JWRC champion, a protege of Carlos Sainz, drove a mature rally and sparkled despite the difficulties, finishing a highly creditable 7th place.
For first time in the Monte Carlo, and especially this year, it's very difficult year. The surface all the time with water, with snow, with ice, and okay, for first time with good rally car, it's okay, I think.
Rising stars Matthew Wilson and Dani Sordo may well have shone in Monte Carlo, but the pair face a new challenge at the next round in Sweden. Sordo will make only his second outing in the Citroën Zara, while Wilson will be joined by a new teammate in the Stobart VK Ford team. Former JWRC driver and protege of Marcus Grönholm, Kosti Katayamaki, will begin the first of 5 outings with Ford's B team in Sweden. Subaru's Chris Atkinson also steps up alongside teammate Petter Solberg and is nominated to score manufacturer's points this time round.
I've only done the one snow rally, so I can't be called an expert in that, but I think we can show good speed again and try not to make any mistakes, and I think hopefully a top result will come.
Other familiar names hoping to challenge the top drivers on the snow of Sweden include Finland's Jani Turhino. The Finn's best result in Sweden was back in 2004 as a Works Ford driver. This year Jani will be piloting a privateer Citroën Zara and will certainly be one to watch. Swedish veteran Thomas Rudström, who contests his home event for the 13th time, will be at the wheel of a privately run Subaru. Rudström's no stranger to the podium, having finished second in 2001. Rudström's fellow countryman and former Peugeot driver Daniel Carlson will also be competing in Sweden, hoping to pull a few surprises. DTM star Matthias Ekstrom returns to drive for the Red Bull Skoda team after a promising Swedish outing with the Works team in 2005. The 27-year-old finished a commendable 10th place last year.
I think if he is on the pace like last year, then I think anything is possible.
The nation has dominated the world of rallying. Welcome to Finland. Raised on a diet of roller coaster jumps and lightning quick gravel stages, names such as Vatanen, Alén, Mikkola and Kankkunen have become synonymous with success out on the stages. In the last 25 years, the Flying Finns have claimed no less than 13 World Drivers' titles, including 2 for current legend in the making, Marcus Grönholm. At 25 years old, Mikko Hirvonen is one of a new breed of young Finns, trying to emulate the success of those who've gone before. Ford's new signing is well up on his rally history.
I did like Markku Alén. He was really spectacular driver, always like his famous saying that he's always in the maximum attack. I did like him, and then a bit later Tommi Mäkinen. I mean, he was just so good that I was really following how he's doing and what he's doing all the time. There's always been a good drivers from Finland, and we always had the success. So all the young people or young boys in Finland, they just want to become a rally driver.
Mikko is no stranger to life in a Works team, having had a stint at Ford back in 2003 and as a factory driver for Subaru during the 2004 season. But it was last year in a privateer focus on the asphalt of Spain that the Finn would score his first ever podium place.
It was fantastic rally for me, that's for sure. And I have to say I was surprised to get my first podium on tarmac. But then again, I've always liked it, being on tarmac, and I knew if I have a good car I can do it, but okay, it was just extraordinary feeling, and for sure I want to do it again someday.
As ever in rallying, teamwork is the key, and co-driver Jarmo Leitonen is the second part of the Hirvonen equation. Since first partnering Mikko in 2002, Jarmo has seen his fellow Finn mature as both a person and driver.
Last year was a big learning year and growing year for him, and both of us basically. That's the biggest change. He's much more mature at the moment.
At the same time, Mikko is equally aware of the talents needed to be a world-class co-driver.
We know each other better and better all the time, and he's he's very calm all the time and down to earth. It's just so easy to work with him, and never does any mistakes. It's just unbelievable, which is I really respect him as a co-driver.
With an obvious mutual respect between the Finnish duo, the next test of their partnership will be on the snow of Sweden.
Sweden is one of the rallies, I think. Well, it's different. I mean, you're driving on snow and ice, and if the weather is good, you have big snow banks, and it's really nice to go flat out and lie a bit on those snow banks. It's going to be really fast and good rally.
With Sweden a definite favourite, the target for the rest of the season ahead with Ford remains sharply in focus.
I think the realistic goal is to fight for the podiums. Quite many rallies. Last year we proved that we can be in the top 5, top 6 in every rally, and now we have the next step.
Main objective for me is just to get closer to those top 3 drivers, and then maybe in the end of the year even fight from the podium with Markus and Petter and Sebastian. That's my aim this year.
Soaring temperatures, blazing sun and dehydration. Life isn't easy for a top rally driver, but it's not just the men behind the wheel who work hard. The cars too need to keep cool.
Radiator is the most important piece in a rally car in terms of cooling, because that's the only piece where the air is streaming through and cooling the water. A radiator is, like it says, water between running down these lines here, and you have fins in between where the cool air is streaming through and just cooling down the water what is running through here from one side of the radiator to the other side. And this is how the system works. Well, the holes what you see here is basically where you have one feed where the water goes in and one outcome where the water comes out. Of course, it goes much hotter in on one side and comes cooler out on the other side because of the cooling in the radiator. This is a material is aluminium. It's all welded together like you can see here, and the fins, they are depending a little bit on how much room you have. They are sometimes on some cars are wider or smaller, and also the thickness of the radiator, you can see it's depending how much you need. Hot events like Cyprus, Greece, or it could be even Turkey, it is very important, because of course you need a lot of cooling. You need always very clean fins, otherwise it will not be so efficient to cool the water down, and for that on all the hot events is the most important part. In Sweden, if you have seen before, there's a lot of cutting, a lot of diving into snowbanks or in dips, and you shovel actually all the snow into your radiator. So if the snow gets packed in the radiator, then of course you have the problem that it's full and there is no airstream going through anymore. And then you have the problem that you have a blocked radiator, and for sure then you are overheating the engine. Like it happened to Tommy Mäkinen a couple of years ago, and he has to stop because the engine died. It's for sure the most important thing for engine cooling, and actually the only one, if you like, because there's nothing else what really streams onto the engine. If you have a problem with a hole in one of these thin tubes here, then you try anything to close it and just get back to service to replace the radiator, and then you use whatever you can find, a chewing gum or whatever, a gum what you have in the car. You just close it and try to get to service, change it, and then you are out again.
Coming up after the break, it's a relationship that's often referred to as a marriage, but just how close are the drivers to their co-drivers? We dig up the dirt.
I always say that, you know, in love, sport and work, you have to have communication.
And we roll back the years to relive an all-time classic Swedish rally, as well as looking ahead to the up-and-coming event. But before we go, a little trivia. We want to know, which veteran driver will be entering his 30th Swedish rally this year? Find out after the break. Welcome back to the WRC Rally Magazine. Before the break, we asked you this question. Which veteran driver will be entering his 30th Swedish rally this year? The answer? None other than Swedish legend Stig Blomqvist. In the World Rally Championship, the relationship between driver and co-driver is often described as being like a marriage. And as in any relationship, there are ups and there are downs. So what exactly is the secret of a strong driver partnership? Who better to ask than the most successful co-driver of all time, Lewis Moyer.
The driver has to only concentrate on driving. So the co-driver should be like a mum and grandma and a friend and a secretary for the driver and do everything. If the driver gets upset, you swallow it. You discuss it after the event. Never upset a driver, never tell him things he doesn't want to hear. You just have to be, sometimes you may tell him, but you have to judge the right moment to tell him.
And out on the stages, there's a mutual respect and trust between the pair.
You need to trust what he's doing, the co-driver, and reading the notes and no mistakes. Sometimes there is mistakes, but it's completely normal. If I'm sleeping, I'm doing stupid corners, putting on the paper there, so Timo is always that, hey, it's not right, that. And that's the work together, and it should be like that.
It's a 50-50 relationship in the car. I trust him completely and he trusts me completely, so we both rely on each other.
If you have a guy or a girl who just say yes, 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 it's not a good thing. You have to say no sometimes also and have a discussion and fight if you're going to get the respect.
But when the honeymoon period is over, that relationship can be tested to the limit. Towards the end of last year, Stéphane Prévost brought his 2-year partnership with François Duval to an end after a string of accidents. But for others, the marriage is still a happy one.
I think Phil's the best co-driver in the world.
Of course, that's why he's in with me.
You have to have good communication. I always say that, in love, sport and work, you have to have communication. If you don't communicate in love, you divorce. In sport, you don't win, and in work, they sack you.
But there's little chance of Ford getting rid of Rally Monte Carlo winner Marcus Grönholm. With his favourite rally coming up in Sweden, his partnership with brother-in-law Timo Rautiainen looks stronger than ever.
Few rallies in the world test the relationship between driver and co-driver to the extent of the only pure winter event on the calendar, the Swedish Rally. The high-speed blasts through the Värmland region of Sweden are always a keenly contested challenge, but one of the most memorable episodes of this historic rally took place 5 years ago. This was the event's 50th anniversary, and a heavy snowfall had ensured that snowbanks lined the roads. For early flyer Richard Burns, though, they would prove to be his undoing. The Englishman would lose over 13 minutes digging his car out of the snowbank.
The back door! Come on! Looking at me!
Colin McRae, too, was caught out by the tricky conditions. Once back on the road, the enraged McRae went on to win 7 stages. Despite this, though, he would only finish 9th overall. McRae's Ford teammate Carlos Sainz led the field going into leg 2, aiming to become the first non-Scandinavian to win this highly specialised rally. Running first on the road, though, proved a challenge too far, even for the legendary Spaniard. 2 incidents on the treacherous surface saw El Matador drop back. Harry Rovanperä on his first event for Peugeot was becoming the revelation of the event. He restored Nordic pride by overcoming early brake problems and took over the lead on the second afternoon. It was still a keenly fought contest, however, with only the 5 stages of day 3 remaining. 4-time world champion Tommi Mäkinen was just 7.3 seconds behind his compatriot. Another fresh snowfall meant difficult conditions for the final leg, but it would not hold back Rovanperä. The Finn was on course for his first ever World Rally victory and began to pull away, despite running first on the road. Mäkinen would make a last-ditch dash for glory on the final stage, but his challenge ended in spectacular fashion. Mäkkinen's quest for his 4th Swedish rally win would come to an end with the finish in sight, allowing Rovanperä to claim his maiden and to date only victory by nearly 30 seconds.
Rovanperä is one of a long line of Finns and Swedes to win here, a tradition unbroken until 2004. And who ended it? Yes, inevitably the all-conquering Sebastian Loeb. Far from his native France, the Swedish rally takes place in the southern part of Sweden by Lake Vänern. In these harsh climbs, high-tempo sport gets the blood and the adrenaline flowing. But the real extreme sport comes courtesy of the WRC. Rally fanatics here for the fun heat up the frozen forests with their enthusiasm. And amongst the most enthusiastic hail from across the border in Norway, hoping that their hero Petter Solberg can repeat last year's win.
It's a good rally. It was very good for us last year. We beat Marcus fair and square fight, and I think if we get everything works out on the test properly after Monte Carlo, we will have a chance to do it.
So the task ahead of Solberg, the rally's based in Karlstad, 300 kilometers west of the country's capital, Stockholm. There are 19 stages and a total competitive distance of 349 kilometers. And it will be run, of course, on snow. It's the only pure snow event. It's fast, it's spectacular, and it's breathtakingly exciting. And who better to talk us through one of the stages than 3 times Rally Sweden winner Marcus Gronholm.
Okay, here we are in Sweden. I don't now remember which stage we are on, but it's really fast. When you look from inboard camera, it looks really quick. And it is quick, but I don't remember that it was that quick. Oh, now I know the place. It's Fredriksberg. One of my favorite stages. Okay, we are coming out to the lake now, and normally here the tires start to be already a bit hot and studs are moving, so you have to be careful this around this lake, these corners. This will be the first stage, I think, this year.
Last year, remember, snow only arrived on the eve of the rally, presenting the drivers with an additional challenge. If the snow's not deep enough, the grip-giving studded tyres are under serious threat.
The grip doesn't come really so much from the contact between the rubber and the road surface like it does on asphalt. The grip comes from the studs biting in to the ice and snow. If the gravel's exposed, then it's almost like a kind of ice concrete, and it really tears at the studs and it rips the studs out of the tyres. Once you've lost the studs, you've lost most of the grip.
If there is deep snow, the stage is aligned with snowbanks, which the drivers use as a soft barrier to bounce them round the corners. But if they get the angle wrong, disaster.
If you have some snowbanks, it's a good security. You can come a bit too fast sometime, and then you just hit a bit the snowbank with the rear of the car, and it puts you again on the road.
We hope it's going to be a little bit snow, but if not, you have to lean on something else, and that's not a good idea.
You have to use them sometimes, or you use them by incident. It's not by purpose that you lean on the banks, especially if they are soft. They can take you if you try to lean them. Another problem is that if you hit the bank with your rear, the car can behave so that it also moves the front towards the bank, and then it can suck you in the snow, and that's not a very good idea.
The man who overcomes all these hazards, who's fastest over the snow and ice, will join a select band of some of rally's real heroes. Winning here takes supreme talent and serious guts. So, with the frozen forests of Sweden awaiting the world's finest rally drivers, round 2 of the WRC is set to be one to remember. You can keep up to date with all the latest news and gossip on WRC.com. But for now, goodbye.